Okay, people, so Witness, right? This is the new short film directed by Radha Mehta and Saif Jaan. Saif also writes the film. It is produced by Omar Al Dakil, Shahaya Ashan, and Radha Mehta. It is executive produced by Rita Mia, Fauzia Mirza, Mike Mozalam. It is co-executive produced by Amin El Gamal, right, with Katrina Knott as a production supervisor. Right, Omar El Deeb took care of the score. Cinematography was handled by Noshin Dadahoy. Joseph Murphy edits the piece. Right, Mehdi Benanin is production design. Kadri Akhtar is production management, right? And our cast, well, where is it? So yes, we have Imam Mustafa, played by Faran Tahir. Shams is played by Shaan Dasani, right? The Imam's daughter, Mirol, is played by Nima Adeni. There is Salim, who is played by Michael McLeod, right? Yes, Salim's bride is played by Laura Obera. And the boy at the end is played by Aiden Kouja, right? I probably people. Now, the gist of this: a revered small town imam faces a crisis of faith when he must choose between upholding the values of his mosque or protecting the safety and spiritual belonging of a male congregant. So this was a really well told story, right? It's short, it's just over 12 minutes, right? But damn, it's short but powerful. It's one of those things, right? Because we're dealing with a story that is, I think we've got religion, that religious aspect of, people not accepting, right? The barriers the church and, all religion can put up when it comes to minority groups and that kind of thing. And I think with this, it's not preachy. And I think that's the great thing, right? It's not a preachy story. You're not being hammered over the head with anything. But it is a story from the heart, right? And I think it really just crosses those barriers, right? It crosses the barrier of religion. It crosses the barrier of language. Because I think everyone can relate to the story in some way. Everyone can relate. And even with the Imam, right, you get it. Because it's those old people who have been brought up with a certain ideology. And, then it's suddenly they're being told to change, right? This thing that they've followed for ages, it's kind of like people have finally been like, that isn't necessarily correct, you know? And I think that's what makes the ending so powerful, because it's like with that whole thing about if you die you get, was it 77 virgins, right? And or 700 virgins, there's a big number that supposedly you get, which is, I mean, it's a crazy thing in itself. But I've been told there's nowhere that actually says a number. You know what I mean? It's just something that people have co-opted and try to manipulate, right? Like with everything, you're told in Christianity that you have to go to church, right? You have to go to church, but there is a bit in the Bible where Jesus is like, "Oh, it doesn't matter where you are, right? Doesn't matter if you're in a shed, a barn, right? A house, a palace. It doesn't matter as long as you are opening yourself up to this thing." But over time, people try to control that narrative and said, no, you can only, be a part of this if you go to this certain place, right? And we see that in so many religions. So I think the end, we have this just incredible moment where that, that glass ceiling is shattered, and you see it, right? You see the shift, because I think for ages, like, people, you can read something, but in your head you have an idea of what's being said. So you're not actually reading the words in front of you. You're going off of the thing that you want it to say. And I think that anyone that edits, you come across that thousands of times, where you'll read that paragraph and be like, no, it reads fine, right? But take a moment, right? Step away, come back the next day, and then you're like, oh, right. Yeah, that's not quite right. Right? I need to change that. I need to shift that across or do this. And, you see the clarity in it. And I think we have the Imam seeing the clarity in what the book says, in what the Quran says. And then we get the phone call. And it is such a great moment. Such a great moment. Filled with them. There's a bit when the Imam's talking to his daughter, and he's just like, it says that you can't do, and she's like, where does it say that? And it's these moments which are brought to life by this fantastic cast. The cast do a tremendous job. You know what I mean? They really do. They do a fantastic job of, imbuing the emotion into the piece. Right? They really do. And what's crazy, from what I can devise, right? And it, it's not a perfect science, right? The information on IMDb can oftentimes be wrong, right? Or incomplete. But it looks like this is the first thing written by Saif Jaan. And if that is the case, damn, Saif has done a fantastic job here. It's done a fantastic job of telling this story, of giving a realness to these interactions, to these characters. And it's only, as I said, it's only just, right, 12 and a half minutes, if that. So being able to do all of this, right, and all of this in the first thing you've written, damn, that's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. And just the directing aspect of it, right? The cast do a great job, but it's being able to give them the confidence to do that, right? Of fashioning this thing to have the story be able to reach its potential, right? And Radha Mehta, she's directed a good few things, you know what I mean? She's directed a lot of stuff. So, you know, I know she's got the experience, and it really comes to bear with this. And then you've got Saif Jaan as co-director, so it's, you know, helping Saif understand all of this stuff. And yeah, together they have really got an impactful story without being, you know, bludgeonry over the head with, you know, this thing, right? You're not being force fed. It's just this natural story. This natural story of these incredible moments, you know? These incredible moments, these characters that feel real, right? They feel real. It's like you buy the, you know, the Imam and Muriel being father's daughter, but then that whole, you know, the questioning of and all of that stuff, it's palpable. You know, we don't have a score that is forcing these emotions on you, right? Everything is there. And just like the score, the cinematography, just all of these things work in a unison with the actors, with the script, to, yeah, give witness the foundation it needed, right? The foundation it has to put this incredible story out into the world. So, people, if you get an opportunity, I highly recommend checking out Witness, right? Now, I'm going to look, if I get any screening information, I will put that on the website for sure. So, yeah, people, make sure you go check that out. But I hope you go and enjoy Witness, the new film from Radha Mehta and Saif Jaan.